Hey everybody, I'm Jim Barry and welcome to the latest episode of Miami Life. Every week we touch on the stories and meet the people who make South Florida such a unique place. And off the top today, the brewing backlash against Alligator Alcatraz. This week we saw billboards go up across Miami-Dade County urging officials to close the controversial migrant detention center in the Everglades. And this comes amid growing allegations about detainees there facing inhumane conditions. CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor spoke with one South Florida man currently in Alligator Alcatraz.
I feel terrible not only for me, but for my daughter too, said Katia Hernandez. She's referring to the 4-year-old girl whose dad is Lamsi Izquierdo, a self-described Cuban rapper detained at Alligator Alcatraz since Friday. Izquierdo, also known as La Figura, was arrested and charged for aggravated assault with a weapon. He is accused of having a dispute with a tow company worker. His girlfriend says before getting deported, he should have a due process as well as the men detained. They don't have a toothbrush and toothpaste. Since when they don't have a toothbrush and toothpaste? Since they arrived at the facility, responded Hernandez. As we interviewed her, the fiancé called. Since Friday, we have not been allowed to take a shower. The food is not in the best condition. He says they are not being watched by ICE agents. Instead, workers dressed in gray who tell them they are guests, not inmates. We reach out to the Florida Division of Emergency Management, who responds to allegations at Alligator Alcatraz. The Deputy Director of Communications sent a statement. The reporting of conditions in the facility is completely false. The facility meets all required standards and is in good working order, said Stephanie Hartman. Tuesday morning, the Florida Immigrant Coalition placed billboards like this one, urging Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levin Cava and county officials to stop Everglades Alligator Detention Center. One of them is next to I-95 and the other one going west on the 836 highway. For Hernandez, anything helps. It's really hard and sad that our loved ones are locked up in that place and we don't even know if we'll be able to see them again. And you are now looking at one of those rotating digital billboards that was installed this Tuesday. This one is next to I-95 going south. I am told more signs like this one could appear throughout the county, at least while Alligator Alcatraz remains open. We are in Northwest Miami-Dade. Yvonne Taylor, CBS News, Miami.
Now, Florida State Senator Shevrin Jones was one of several lawmakers who was turned away from going inside the detention center just last week. We talked with him earlier this week about the budding concerns over conditions at the facility. Shevrin, you and 4 other colleagues from the state legislature tried to get into Alligator Alcatraz last week, were denied entry. What reasons were you given for being turned away?
Well, first, thanks for having me, Jim. The reason why they told us that it wasn't safe for us to go in at the time was because they said it was unsafe conditions. We went on to continue to ask the question that if the conditions were unsafe for us to be there, how safe is it for to have the detainees how they classify detainees inside the facility? They can give us a real reason, and the truth be told, I'm sure you are probably already aware of it, but in my 13 years of being inside the legislature, I have gone into state-run facilities numerous times, and all I had to do is do what the protocol asked us to do, is to show our badge, but that did not work in this particular facility, and still to this day, we still have not had the opportunity to get any more information on what's happening on inside the detention center.
Yeah, that was kind of my follow-up question. So as a state lawmaker, you do have the right to drop in anytime you want to, I guess. We've been reporting on the conditions at the facility there, Shevrin, and there are concerns about the food, the mosquitoes, perhaps unsanitary conditions. And I guess this is kind of a quasi-legal question about undocumented citizens and whether or not they've got, quote-unquote, civil rights in the United States. How would you respond to that?
Well, I'm not an attorney, but what I will say is that the basic rule of thumb for anybody who's in leadership is that you want to recognize someone's humanity first. It doesn't matter whether or not they are legal or illegally here. That's not the case. We should be dealing with individuals from a humanitarian standpoint first. I'll say that. The second part I'll say is that as we look at the state of Florida and the connection and their connection that they have right now with the federal government with the 287G program, right now the Department of Homeland Security has made it clear that the detainees that are being detained on the accord of the state of Florida. They're not being detained because of the federal government is asking them to detain these individuals. And the second thing is that we have not even found out who is inside this facility because my colleague continues to say that this facility is for the worst of the worst of illegal criminals. Well, if it is for the worst of the worst of illegal criminals, then that's one thing, and I would support that, Jim. I would absolutely support if that was the case and what in the truth and what they said they were doing. But that's not what we believe is happening, especially when we are receiving phone calls, emails, and speaking to attorneys of individuals who are inside the facility who has made it clear that the mosquitoes are out of control and they're not giving anything to control it. There's talk spoken about the water and how the water is a pale color or brownish color. They spoke about the food that they're receiving, that the food is not up to par, and made it clear that one even said they received a rotten apple and was asked to eat it because that was the last thing that they had. That is the reason why we wanted to go to the facility, because the authority that we have is the ability to go into these facilities, to inspect them, to ensure that they are being up to code, to ensure that human beings are able to live within these facilities for these confined spaces for a period of time. And I know for a fact the answer is no. That is not what's happening right now at the detention center.
Yeah. Shevrin, we dealt with this topic on our show last week, and a lot of our viewer comments, many people support Alligator Alcatraz. I wonder what your message is to people who support this facility and also the aggressive roundup of undocumented residents.
Well, here's what I will tell you, that if you support the fact that we should be looking at a bipartisan way to deal with immigration, then I can support you on that, because I think Democrats and Republicans alike want to deal with illegal immigration in the most humane way possible. What we're seeing right now is not that. What we're seeing right now is political theater. My colleagues who are using immigration and the way that they are doing it in a way to try to score political points with a base. If you support individuals eating food that has maggots in it, or do not have access to running water, and you are not a criminal, as a matter of fact, let me even take it a step further. Individuals who are sitting inside this facility are fathers who were snatched from their families, mothers. These are individuals who are inside these facilities. And so if you support the inhumane treatment for individuals who were picked up from work and asked to get into a paddy wagon and to be taken to a facility to where you don't know what is going on because all you was doing is showing up for a court date, if you support that, shame on you. That's my message.
State Senator Shevrin Jones, we appreciate your time for weighing in on this, and certainly we will continue to follow this very important and very controversial issue to see where it all lands. Thank you very much for your time. All right, moving on, a reprieve for a job training program that feared it was being shut down. Last month, we told you about concerns that JobCorps would be axed all across the country. But now a judge rules the JobCorps training programs must remain open. The temporary legal victory means JobCorps sites like the one you see here at Miami Gardens will keep operating. The U.S. Labor Department planned to pause operations at all 99 JobCorps locations at the end of June because of budget cuts. But for now, JobCorps can continue to help young people get ready to find work while the legal fight of its future plays out in the courts. So now the Miami Gardens JobCorps site wants students to return.
We're in the process of bringing back a lot of students who did leave while this was going on. A lot of students saw the opportunity that they had here. They thought it was over. They didn't have a chance to complete what they started, the journey that they was on. But now we're getting back in touch with them to know that they can continue their journey.
JobCorps was created in the 1960s to offer free vocational training, food, and housing for those who qualified. All right, up next on Miami Life, a local softball club that teaches girls how to win on the diamond and in life.
It's been fun and it's giving me confidence. It's giving me more challenge to get better.
We'll talk to the husband and wife team behind the Miami Stingrays. Plus, a common virus that can lead to hearing loss for newborns. We'll explain new steps being taken to protect them. Miami Life coming right back. Welcome back. The Miami Stingrays Softball Club has spent 2 decades transforming the lives of young female players. The Stingrays have been a launching pad for softball stars. They've won state and national titles, and more importantly, helped some 300 young women land scholarships at colleges all across the United States. The Stingrays welcome girls as young as 8 years old. Gator and Jesse Reban, the husband and wife team behind the Stingrays, say preparing the girls for life is their top priority.
You know, we knew that once these kids started getting older, we realized now college is the next step. So now we wanted to make sure we could try to groom these girls to be prepared to play for college and then put them in front of the best colleges in the country.
And joining us now in Miami Live, Jesse and Gator Reban, the folks who have kept the Stingrays going and teaching young ladies how to play the fine sport of softball. What's been the formula, Jesse, for the Stingray success?
I think taking the homegrown talent that we have here and developing the players from the time that they're very young. Like a lot of these girls that we have now in our 16s and 18s started with us when they were 5 and 6 years old, and they learn how we work and come through the whole program, and really makes them know the game well and know how to play together. It's been a lot of fun working with them.
That's an important thing, too.
Yeah.
So, Gator, I was in an Uber not too long ago, and the driver was so proud of his football-playing son. And he was telling me about how he's learned how to, as a tight end, to avoid the double team off the line of scrimmage. And I said, well, that's great. How old is he? He said, 8. I couldn't believe that he was so dialed in at that young of an age. And so I wonder sometimes if you guys are concerned about kids being overloaded with pressure at such a young age.
Not really. I mean, you know, we give months off, you know, softball. You know, they play through the summer, 2 days a week of practice. We play usually, you know, 5 to 7 tournaments during the summer. During the fall, it's a lighter load. Then during the high school season, you know, the younger kids, they usually play rec ball or they play another sport.
I guess I'm asking, how do you keep it fun?
We just keep it going. You know, in the summer, the kids, you know, they're all playing together. When they go travel tournaments, they stay in the same hotel, all the kids, so they run around the hotel. You know, for them, that's fun. They get to swim, and it's like a party every weekend for them. And then, you know, we also like to see them play multiple sports. So softball, you don't get burned out on one sport. And we've always, you know, we encourage, like our own daughter's playing basketball at her school. So, you know, we encourage them to play multiple sports so they don't get burned out.
Which is what we used to do back in the day.
Right.
And then you really see what you fall in love with if you fall in love with any of them.
Yeah, and a lot of people think you need to play that one sport
right.
to be great at it, but that's, you know, that's not true. Playing all, you know, being well-rounded in all sports helps you a lot.
Yeah, old school philosophy. I love it. So, Jesse, you were a big-time softball player. You went to the University of Florida, had some injuries, and that changed the arc of your career. How has that experience helped you in terms of coaching these kids?
I think just appreciating every moment. Like my career was cut short because I had 3 ACL injuries where I had reconstructive surgery. 4 surgeries, 3 reconstructions. And not playing made me love it more. Like coming back and being able to coach has given me that ability to stay in touch with the game. And like teaching these girls to love it it's fun.
We pointed out in the story that about 300 of the young ladies that you've coached have gone on to earn college scholarships, and really shows that there's a new frontier out there for women to have an opportunity to get an education playing the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, you know, it's hard enough to get in college, you know, accepted to colleges now, you know, with the competitiveness of people with academics. For these girls now to play sports, they have the opportunity to go to schools normally they wouldn't. Like we have kids who go to Ivy League. Our daughter's at Georgetown, which if I don't think she was playing softball, it would have been tough for her to get into Georgetown. So it does give them that opportunity to go to the schools of their choice.
So what's the long-term goal here? Just keep it going, grow it, expand it?
Well, we're hoping that, eventually somebody else will take over. I've been doing this since 1995, wow. 96. Our kids now are finishing, so we have a few years left after our kids go. I'm sure we got a few more years after that. But there's a lot of good young people that are now, their daughters are involved in it, and hopefully they'll step up and keep it going for a long time, because it's helped a lot of kids in Dade County. I mean,
and one of the most cool things about our organization is it really comes full circle. Mm-hmm. Like right now, our 10 and under team is being coached by 2 girls that went all the way through our program, are now playing in college and came back and coached, and it's fun to see that too.
Very dedicated folks. Thanks to Gator and Jesse for talking with us, and continued success with the Miami Stingrays. Still to come in Miami Life, the moment a child hears her mom's voice for the very first time.
Now we have both of them on. Can you hear me?
Find out about the common virus that threatens to rob young people of their hearing and what's being done to prevent that. We'll be right back. Welcome back. There's a virus called congenital CMV. It infects 50 to 80% of people at some point in their lives. It is also the leading cause of non-genetic hearing loss in children. For adults, it often resembles a common cold, but when transmitted to a baby in the womb, the implications can be devastating. Naja Shevrin tells us about the steps being taken to protect newborns.
10-year-old Gracie O'Toole experienced the magic of sound in both ears.
Now we have both of them on. Can you hear me?
Her immediate reaction, laughter.
Yeah. The first voice that I heard was my mother's voice. It was amazing.
You could tell the second that they turned them on, because she made this noise and her face lit up and she started getting super giggly, and after a while she's laughing and stuff, but then you could tell that the emotions got over her, because then she started to get a little emotional.
Just weeks ago, doctors activated her cochlear implants, marking a new chapter. Her hearing deteriorated following an infection from congenital CMV as an infant.
A pregnant individual contracts the virus and then passes it along to the baby, and then it's present in that baby at birth.
Gracie's mother, Ashley O'Toole, recalled feeling under the weather during her pregnancy. Just a mild cold, never suspecting the seriousness of what she had contracted. Gracie was born premature at 34 and a half weeks and spent 2 crucial months in the NICU.
It's only dangerous when you get exposed to newborns. So again, it's rampant in daycares and stuff like that. Again, at that point when I had her, I have a 3-year-old. She's in daycare.
Doctors discovered Gracie's congenital CMV when she failed her first hearing test. However, thanks to advocates at Memorial Healthcare System, CMV testing is now mandated for infants at risk.
It now will impact and influence any baby who is born premature, so before 35 weeks gestation, any baby who has been in the NICU.
Gracie's positive CMV diagnosis was discovered by chance. At-risk babies born now will automatically receive the necessary screenings and support early on.
Kids will be screened for this automatically and be able to get the help that they need in an early time frame.
Gracie has a lot of firsts to look forward to.
Keep on hearing things that are new and different. And now that I have the cochlears, it's amazing for life.
Well, doctors estimate about 1 in 200 babies are born with congenital CMV. The severity can range from mild hearing loss to significant neurological challenges. There is no cure, but early intervention in the first 21 days of life is vital. We'll be right back. All right, next week in Miami Life, we're going to introduce you to our latest person of interest. Giancarlo Rodaz literally grew up on stage. His parents founded the acclaimed Area Stage Theater Company in South Miami. Well, now Rodaz is the artistic director of Area Stage and is getting ready to direct a musical adaptation of Disney's Tarzan. We'll bring you his story and get a sneak peek at his brand new production that is coming up next week. All right, let's see what the Miami Life audience has had to say in our story on Alligator Alcatraz. And our interview with the executive director of the American Civil Liberties Union of Florida generated as much response as any story we've done before. A lot of support for the new detention center. One said, leave now, return later, or remain here, hide, and be arrested and deported with no chance of returning. Sounds like the easiest of choices. Another writes, don't break into our country illegally. You don't have to worry about going to places like this. But not everybody supported the idea of a detention center in the Everglades. One viewer noted that it's in a flood zone and we're in the middle of hurricane season. Keep sending us your comments and feedback to cbsmiami@cbs.com. That does it for this week's edition of Miami Life. Don't forget, we'll see you every Thursday for new episodes on the stream. You can also watch all Miami Life episodes on demand on our YouTube channel. I'm Jim Barry. Thanks for watching. See you next time.